All right, we're on the road again. We're at Missouri States, and this is our awesome judge. Please tell everybody what lovely venue we're at.
We are at Changing Hands in Joplin, Missouri.
There we go. There we go. It is a pretty cool place. They got used books here, some new books. It's like one of those straight out the 80s venues. Like, you know, it's like, here is the D&D stuff. So we got a pretty good attendance for Missouri States. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. We got a lot of WWE and a lot of Onslaught. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to learn today about some WWE. So hopefully we can get some, we'll see how this turns out. If we get to top 4, just the finals. All right, I will check back with y'all in a bit. I am here in Missouri States. I played this awesome gentleman in the finals.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
we did. You played an awesome team.
Thank you.
Go ahead. What is your team, sir? And state your name.
I am Spencer White, Team Juggernaut, baby. Represent.
I didn't know that. You don't have a shirt.
No, I don't have a shirt yet. But I played Onslaught, Kane, Dr. Frankenstein, Proteus, Mudman with the ring, Avengers, kicked my ass. It happens.
Yes.
Beat me twice, but
that's all right. That's all right. I played in the finals with him in Avengers and won. But we'll go back. So here's the awesome thing. So what made you come with that combination? Because it's a monster theme team.
Yeah. So I built it for Arkansas State's last weekend. Went up there, managed to get third, only lost to WWE. So I was like, ooh, maybe I'll run WWE. Had a team built with that. Was thinking, don't know that WWE can beat Avengers. Maybe Onslaught, Triple Mind Control has a better chance of beating Avengers. And then we got on Stark Tower map. So I never got off of Mind Control, so it just got bum rushed.
Yeah. So, like, overall, like, when you're designing the tech, what drew you to Onslaught?
So, Onslaught, the thing that I love about him is the free action to basically TK, Mind Control, or Incap. So those are really good powers that you don't always want to spend an action on, but if you can do them as free and then do your other stuff. Also, WWE is, I assumed, was going to be a big thing for Popper, and so being able to knock somebody back 9 squares with a close attack, just to make them come back to me, I thought was really big also.
Yeah.
And then, I know a lot of people play Undertaker instead of Kane when they're comboing with Onslaught. I like Kane better because if you're playing against more pieces, his ability to light up the ropes, you have the ability to attack a lot of targets with a single attack.
Yeah, and just for note, everybody, Stark Tower has a lot of ropes, and mistakes were made. he wrote he wrote my Hulk. That was actually a pretty good maneuver. You could explain that because you had
So basically, he had knocked Kane down to where he had reversal, and it's the purple movement power. Slingshot, I think is what it's called.
I'm still learning it.
And so I hit with slingshot, or I hit with my reversal first, and because slingshot gives me automatic knockback, I get to choose which direction. I knocked him into a wall, so he stayed in the same place. And then since he had been knocked back, I was able to free attack with slingshot, even though he didn't move anywhere.
Yeah.
So I got off 2 free attacks basically, and then was able to power action attack. It still didn't kill Hulk, but the attacks
impervious. That's what happened. That's all that happened.
Yep. That's how a tank lived too.
That's how
tank lives and dies by impervious, man.
That is true. He killed my Bolt twice. Like, just straight gangster murder Bolt. Bolt was like, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Sending tank.
Proteus don't mess around.
Proteus doesn't mess around.
He fries bolts.
Yeah. So, a lot of people talk about, like, are using Undertaker. What motivated you for Kane? Because Kane has a lot of cool, different mechanics.
Yeah. So, like I said a while ago, I think the ability to attack multiple targets with the flaming posts, I think is really big. And then a lot of people, I think, play Undertaker because of the stop click. But where his stop click is at, once you hit him off of it, me personally, I'm not a big fan of, because he's not hard to kill after he hits it. So I feel like Kane with the deeper dial, which I'm not sure, but if they have a deeper dial, but it's close. And so being able to be offensive throughout the whole dial and worrying less about regenning, because I've got Dr. Frankenstein to heal. So, and then he's got the flaming post top loaded, and then he's got 3 clicks of flurry after that. So with the big man being able to giant reach, flurry, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. All right. Well, my battery's unfortunately about to die. I'd like to thank my guests, and I'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
All right. I'm here at Dice Addiction. It's Oklahoma State. Everybody's getting in line. Gonna have some fun. Everybody is here to play Dice Addiction. It's gotten more spiffy over the years. Some people remember where the cabinets were here before. Now that's sort of open space, and the cabinets are up there now. So, yeah, we're starting a little late. We were holding out for more people. We got 7 people. So good high level competition right now. So I think we're gonna have a good old day. Have some fun. All right, that's it. Check y'all in a little bit. Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Episode 300 is finally here. I've spent time thinking about various things that I wanted to do for 300. I thought about like having a bunch of guests on. I thought about trying to organize remember your favorite episode of Starting Over Podcast or any, some stuff like that. And the more and more that I thought about it, the more I just sort of realized, I'm like, let me just go ahead and do something normal. And just me talking, at least reflecting about things to a degree. But before we get into that, there's some other things I want to talk about. First and foremost, some of you may be wondering, what's up with your upload schedule, homie? And a good chunk of it is me adapting to being a teacher and me going out there and trying to deal with challenges with the kids that I wasn't ready for. Part of that comes in from being a new full-time teacher. I've taught part-time or assistant taught or all this other stuff. But teaching full-time, this is my first time where it's like, this is my day in, day out job. And so there's some things in terms of documentation and good God, there's a ton of documentation on things. Also just going out there and trying to create an environment for the kids to learn and get better. It's been rough. I also underestimated the difference between failing Missouri public schools and failing Oklahoma schools are really different. Oklahoma's horrible for education. It really is. On my phone today, I saw an article about the state of Oklahoma, and our average rating for our educational system is a C. And I just sort of found that atrocious. I found it really atrocious. And dealing with some of the kids, I can see why. I can understand why. But, I mean, in particular, I'm dealing with kids that are in, to sum it up, they're from the hood.
Not like hood bang bang every day, 45 people dead per day, Chirac type thing, but enough. And it's country hood, and these kids do country things and don't think anything's wrong with it, like taking their shoes off in class. I'm not kidding on that one. I'm straight up not kidding. Black kids and white kids and Hispanic kids. Like, I don't get why is that a thing? Like that's just nasty. Okay, all boys school, but that's just nasty. But there is. I thought passing the buck along to the next teacher was bad in Missouri, especially Kansas State Public Schools, which I have very little love for. Definitely once you get past elementary school, like everything just falls off like a rock down a cliff into a ravine. And in that ravine, it goes straight down to the tectonic plates. Yeah, it falls just like that. I look at how bad things are with my students and how much stuff is passed on from the previous teacher because the previous teacher didn't want to work. And so then they didn't do everything. So then they passed on what they failed to do onto the next teacher. And I can't front either. It's a lot of parents' faults too because they don't take time to educate their kids on their time. Like the Xbox is not a babysitter, homie. Like, you got to go out there and take your kids to the library, go and, read with the kids, encourage them to read. It's like the number one thing. Go out there, take them to a museum. Like, you can't just be shoveling pop culture down these kids' throat because my kids couldn't memorize a 6-minute speech, but they could memorize like 20 different songs. And a lot of stuff they shouldn't even be listening to, but their parents allow them to listen to, or better yet, it's on the radio, and it's just horrific. If anything that I put it up on my Facebook, if anything is that I can find disturbing is how murder, selling drugs, and excessive promiscuity is just sold to the African American community through music, and we don't think twice about it. But when it starts being sold explicitly to other communities and their children, now it's a problem. And we see that with the COPPA stuff, which I'll talk about. And it's a thing, and folks just say, well, that's just culture. And I'm like, look, I am not a cultural relativist. Some cultures are better than others. They just are. Or they're better at some things than other things. And impoverished African American culture does not produce much other than people willing to struggle. And that can be a positive, but many times it's a negative. There's so many limiting beliefs that I have to deal with the students and the parents and people in the community. It's not even, it's ridiculous. And I mean, I've lived here before, and a lot of people don't understand what it's like having a grand divergence of a cultural experience within your own ethnicity. I am black, obviously. My black experience being in Kansas City and also being in Kansas, Wichita, spending time up in Illinois and Chicago, that black experience is so different than the black experience in Tulsa. It's ridiculous to the point where folks will say, I'm going to live in North Tulsa because I'm black, and then complain that everything is bad, have very minor community activity and expect things to get better. And they complain that everything, in North Tulsa and South Tulsa is better, and that's where all the money's at. And they won't A, move to South Tulsa where the money's at, or B, fight to make North Tulsa better. But it's like this perpetual spiritual echo from the Tulsa bombing. And folks want to say it was a race riot. And it's like, no. If it was a race riot, that's what they usually categorize what minorities do to white people. I mean, I'm not going to front. You go look at, the LA riots, and you go look at the civil rights riots and all this other stuff. It's usually when they classify minorities, in particular black people, when they go off and do something. Now, this is a bombing. And before Watchmen even posted up that crap about what happened in Tulsa, like, I knew about it. Like, and it was an issue when I was an associate pastor, because it's like, oh, we can't have our church here because we're black. We need to have our church over here. And so I've seen it. And so because of that reality of your blackness is not just defined by your cultural experience, not just defined by your speech, but it's defined by where you live. It's defined by your ability to perpetually point to an event in the past that affected in some cases, your great grandparents. And there are some people that were directly affected in terms of wealth that I've been referenced to, in which they could have been millionaires or billionaires, but their family is now middle class, primarily because of the Tulsa bombing. And so I look at that, and I've tried to challenge some people with a multitude of thoughts, one of which is, look, how did African Americans with lower education than what many of these people now have able to generate a massive amount of wealth? And you all can't. You all can't. You could say in leaps and bounds, you are intellectually and resource more superior. And these people became millionaires, and you all can't. That's the first thing that hits me. And then the second part is they complain. It's like, oh, all this historical Greenwood is all getting bought up and by white people. And I'm like, look, if you cared so much, play the political game. You would have every politician, black, white, and Hispanic, out there to help you preserve classic Greenwood if you would keep it up. I mean, it's God honest truth. But nobody sits back and says, look, yes, these bad things happen, but you need to learn from your ancestors. What did they do? What was their power? But it was just like, no, we're not going to do this because these other things come, and we can't do that because we're going to have to fight. And I would be like, son, please, let's fight. Let's get bloody. At least when it's all over, at least we know where we all stand. Instead of this henpecking BS that's gone down, which is tiring. Because I literally have seen some of the strongest, most educated black men that I've ever met just sort of sit there and complain and don't do jack. Because it's hard. And because people won't hate us and people don't like us. And then we have to do all this fight and we don't have a lot of money. And I'm like, well, shoot, take a note from Nas. Count your runs. Count your money before you go to war. Know what wars you can fight. Know what wars you can win. Build up your base. Build up your capital. Be a mastermind. But that's the old me coming out. That's the old me coming out. So I've had some nights where I've just sat here and reflected. I've talked to some people about it, and I've somewhat kept a good chunk of it to myself till now. Now, please let me know. Just because I'm ranting on African Americans doesn't mean that I'm like, white people are flawless. I'm like, no, not here. There's the best way I can put it is people stay concerned at a safe distance. That's the best way to put it. Oh, you work up in North Tulsa. Good for you. Do you live up there? No, I live in Mexican Town. Oh, okay. Well, man, hopefully you do a good job. We'll be praying for you. Why don't you come up here? No, that's okay. I'm like, there's Turley. And Turley's like 85% white. And it's literally like right on top of North Tulsa. Right? But because Turley is low income whites, then, hey, we sort of forget about that part. We just sort of blended into that North Tulsa part. Literally, I work right on the edge between North Tulsa and Turley. I went over to Turley one time. There's nothing but white people. Low to middle income, sort of struggling, but cool white people. Nobody talks about that. When you start talking about North Tulsa, it's black people. People real quick forget about Turley, and that it's mostly white people. So anyway, it's a bit of a struggle because you could say like you're in a group, but you're not of the group, and the conflicts that arises from being not in the group and not being part of the group cause for lots of conflicts. And bro, I like to fight. I like intellectual fights, which gets me in a lot of organizational trouble. And I really like my job. And so I've had to just sort of sit back and meditate at home because I can't say things about work at work. Because if I do, I would have a hostile work environment. I've already pissed them off when I told them, like, hey, my students need to print off their speech. Yeah, I turned the school upside down on that and was deemed as unreasonable because the kids can't do it. Oh, gosh. The multitude of things. There's a multitude of things. So anyway, let's talk about COPPA real quick. COPA or CHOPPA, whatever it is, and how that's going to affect things, and YouTube's silly standards. It's like silly YouTube, being a trick is for kids. Like, it's frustrating. It truly is frustrating. Trying to do this. The game is so rigged thus far that I just said I play my own game. And truth be told, if I was the philosophical me, the hey, let's sit here and talk about ethics and public policy, maybe that should have been a show I should have done from the beginning. I don't know. If it was like that, I have nothing to fear from COPPA at all, because I already know that my age bracket is going to be adults. But the problem is, heroclix is for kids and adults. Okay, so I was really holding off on a lot of what I was going to do and feel and say until the great white knight himself, Matt Pat, came in and made a from on high statement, like Gandalf coming in to save Helm's Deep, and he was going to help rid off the orc army of the federal government. And instead of Gandalf coming over the hill with the army, he's just sort of up there. It's like, yo, man, it sucks, son. I hope you get out. And the orcs are invading the fort. And we're like, Matt Pat, are you going to save us? Matt Pat, please save us. And he's just like, nah, fam. And then just imagine if Gandalf sort of turned around. He was like, yo, man, we gotta find another ground to fight this. That place is lost. That place is lost. So the problem with the COPPA thing is a lot of people are going to say, I'm not on YouTube. I'm on this platform. I'm on that platform. It's okay. I'll just go do this somewhere else. And I don't think people understand how laws work. Like, this isn't a law that says YouTube. While the FTC is focused on YouTube, there's nothing in there. It's just like, y'all fam, yep, this law specifically for YouTube. Okay, just like if there's a law, it's not going to be specifically written for like Yellow Freight or Walmart or Waffle House. You know, like it affects everyone in that genre. And so we can say, hey, heroclix is a game. And adults play these games. But considering that the properties are targeted towards kids, I see problems coming. And this is something I've learned from the government, working for the government. The government is all consuming. There is no amount of money that will satiate the government. Okay? And some folks will say, well, that's very libertarian of you. I'm like, no, that's just reality. Like, that's just reality. The government is a beast that is never satisfied. Oh, we got $80 trillion. Oh, okay. That's okay. Can you get me $80 trillion tomorrow? But that's a whole year. No, I spent it all. What? You spent it all? But wait, how? I am the void, and the void is me. Like, that's government. That's government. If you tell them that they have $90 bazillion, you know what'll happen? They'll spend $102 bazillion and then say, I owe you one. Okay? And so when it comes to fundraising, and this is, I guess, the college me, the Machiavellian me coming out in this episode. This is the dark of dark logos. This is a perfect weapon to leverage at political enemies. This is a perfect weapon to leverage at any platform to gain income. This is actually just a perfect thing to go and gather income. Like, realistically, like there's more things that you could do with it, but functionally, it's sort of gangster. it's a shakedown, and combined with thought policing. Okay, I say this is for adults, and then you can say no, it's not for adults. And then I can say, no, I said this is for adults. I clicked it right here. And it's like, they can say, like, no, man, I see Spider-Man there. Spider-Man is for kids. And you're like, no, I'm an adult. I like Spider-Man. It's like, no, buddy. Kids like Spider-Man. And since kids like Spider-Man, they will perpetually be a higher priority than you or whatever you say. And you'd be like, hold up, wait. No, I'm an adult. I'm talking about Spider-Man and Mary Jane and comic books and superhero characters. they'd be like, nah, man, comic books are for kids. And they'd be like, who said? Like, they're talking about Mein Kampf in my comic book. Is that for kids? It's like, no, man. Comic books are for kids. Okay, I want to talk about anime. Nah, man. Cartoons are for kids. Have you seen Tentacle Man over there? That's not for kids. Nah, dog. All cartoons are for kids, citizen. All cartoons are for kids. And so it's this 1984 doublespeak that's going on. The slavery is freedom. Oh, we are protecting you, but we were enslaving you at the same time. And so because of that, I'm not going to say look like Mr. Clicksfix. I'm going to get tagged by the FTC and I'm going to pay like 45 to 50 grand or whatever for a video. I don't really think that's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen is eventually people are going to be saying, is it really worth the risk for this? Like, real talk, fam. Is it worth talking about heroclix and showing games with the risk of being hit by the FTC? And, you go on a stream or you go on to, a YouTube channel and somebody drops a F-bomb. Somebody does something that the government deems inappropriate because, again, the rules are generic for a reason. It's fundraising. It's the government. Okay? And because it's open-ended and you can just be like fundraising for the children. For the children. Think of the children. You're caught. Someone, are you going to go through and then edit out every cuss word? I mean, I've had people on the show and I've gone back and done that and I've edited out cussing because I was trying to be YouTube family friendly safe. And I still try to be for a multitude of reasons. But if someone goes back and looks through an old show and says like, hey, Edward, you let somebody say the B word on your show. Remember that time, Edward, you were really ticked off at Spiral and you just said the S word? Yep. Can't allow that. You remember that one time when you talked about blow your face off and you referenced the hard R and conversations with other black people? It was like, yep, that's thought crime there, buddy. That's thought crime. So we're gonna have to find you. So we've gone through your back catalog. We found 10 videos. So you owe us over $400,000. So I don't know how you're gonna settle that. That's not our job. But we're going to make you an example so we can get as many people to do this. And a lot of y'all, like, some of you are laughing because how extreme that is. Some of you are like, well, dang it, you're pretty correct on this. There is something I would always encourage everyone to read. And some people would say this is a point of historical exploitation or me leveraging my blackness or playing a race card. And it's not. It's really good intellectual exercise to understand the mechanisms of oppression and control. Read the Willie Lynch letters, Let Us Make a Slave. And Let Us Make a Slave is a grand structure in how to control a populace and have them perpetuate the thought process for generations. For generations. I mean, African Americans are the grand social experiment for everything. We're usually the first guinea pigs for a lot of this stuff. Mainly because our social structure is very vulnerable. Anyway, but going forward, in Let Us Make a Slave, Willie Lynch gives you the following situation, is that if you take your strongest male and you tie him to a tree and you beat him within an inch of his life, or say, his life -1 or something like that. I forgot the phrasing. So I think it's like 39 lashes. And you just emphasize to everyone else, like, look, I'm the one in charge. The women will make their boys weak and make their women strong because they see what happens to the men. Now, some of you would say is like, are you saying that independent women are the product of this of slave thought? I'm like, no, hear me out. What I am saying is this: the image of the strongest being beat in the establishment of authority, once that happens, the leaders of Among Us on YouTube or whatever other platform are going to comply. All the advisors are going to comply. And then they're going to tell the rest of us what we need to do to be profitable. And then we comply. That's pretty much what'll happen. I mean, hell, I waited for MatPat to say something before I came up with what I was going to think. Okay? But I fortunately listened to a second video, and the guy was like, look, MatPat has saved YouTube multitude of times, but he didn't tell us this time what the heck to do. He didn't say how he was changing his videos for the algorithm and how to say, and also stay popping and also dodge the FTC. He didn't say that. He just told us, like, look, man, I'm Gandalf. I'm not riding down this mountain. I've rode down this mountain 80 different times. I'm not riding down this mountain again. Y'all need to stop being in Helm's Deep all the time. Y'all need to leave. Okay? It's even more modern film, reference. Let's go to Endgame. Like, you're a little YouTuber. You're like Thor and Iron Man and Cap. They're fighting Thanos, and Thanos is the FTC, and he's got the freaking YouTube gauntlet. And then there's no Black Panther coming. There's no little message from Doctor Strange saying on your left. and behind him, it's like all those minions of the government coming for you. Like, I'm sorry. there are no portals with wizards and Wakandans and Asgardians coming out to save your butt. So in the heroclix community in particular, just because of the properties that we have, we really need to be careful. I'm almost willing to say this, and probably as one of the longest cats that's been in the game, Aries Edge has this right. Go to Facebook. I've been thinking about it. I've actually thought about, like, maybe just abandoning this channel. I'm not going to necessarily be super rash on that, but Aries has it right. You have your channel, you have your Facebook page, you stream on your Facebook page, and people live interact. They'll have their comments. You just do what you do, and people consume it and move on. Like, Aries has good numbers. Aries has really good numbers and interactions for his live chat of freaking doing the dishes. He's just doing the dishes, and he's talking about heroclix. Like, I know people could say, like, well, what if I want to be more professional and this, that, and the other? Like, yeah, you could, but realistically, as Facebook progresses, there are more and more features that they can roll out for uploaded content for it to be released at X period of time, and then you can just watch it and blah blah blah. Like all of that is possible, but I functionally feel that when we look at the reality that is YouTube, with all the demonetization, and then them saying, if you're not profitable, we can get you off this platform, and then saying, hey, if you're not kid friendly, or at least 13 to 17-year-old friendly, then guess what, homie? Your ad revenue is greatly reduced, which de-incentivizes you to do your job or to make content. And if you're the radicals, which I mentioned before, that don't care about the money anymore, they're already getting their money off of Patreon and everything else, okay, because of Apocalypse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because of that, YouTube's like, we're not getting our cup, blah. We're not getting our cut. You either get back on that corner and turn some videos, or I'm going to retire you. And Slick Pip Willie YouTube will lay the hand on you, okay? And then take your money, take the money, and then say, here's your cut. Trick, now be gone, okay? And that's realistically what's going to happen. And the main reason I know this is that I've experienced this before. I experienced this on Blip. And the content that I'm making now was not the content that Blip wanted. They didn't want, what I'm doing. They wanted nice film student, semi-regular, Netflix really taking off, come back to us, every week type content. And the average person doesn't create that. The average person will, hide their face. The average person will sit there and talk about what they like and interact with people. The average person doesn't do anything more advanced than what, Photoshop and Vegas and a few other programs just do. They keep it simple, okay? And even then, a lot of people, once they start making money, they just send it to somebody else for them to do all the special effects, okay? But realistically, when I got kicked off of Blip, it was like a eye-opener. And what it told me was, it's like, one, anyone can remove me from their platform at any point in time. Two, Blip owed me money before they kicked me out. I think I had like $20 built up, and they didn't have a minimum. And when I tried to request my money, I couldn't get it because I was getting kicked off the platform. Also, they wouldn't help me migrate crap. So that sucked too. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, there's nothing here that lets me know, oh, hey, I need to go, or I don't fit here, I don't belong here. I just saw it as, hey, this is a free service that has better payouts than YouTube, which it did at that time. So I just want y'all to think about that. Like, I was making about $40 a month, and I was on iTunes, and I was pissed off that I had more viewers on iTunes than I did on Blip because those weren't monetized. And we're talking about 500 views, in per episode. So 2,000 views, 2,000 views a month, and the majority of them are on iTunes. And I'm making about $40 a month. Now, it's nothing that you can be like, haha, I can live off that. But it sure the heck beats what YouTube was paying. And it sure the heck beats then and now. Okay. So anyway, I digress again. But I mean, the other lesson I learned from Blip was if your platform isn't big enough, there's only so long that you can run the video hosting game. And I think YouTube is starting to realize that. And I've listened to a bunch of professionals talk about YouTube, and they said, look, Google uses YouTube as a huge tax write-off so that they can just report the bazillion dollars of losses that they have from YouTube, and then use that to sort of off balance the insane amount of AdSense profit and algorithm correlated ads that they do with AdSense. Like AdSense is really the monetization behind Google. Like that's the the mitochondria of the cell, is the powerhouse. Yeah, that's of the organism of Google. AdSense is the mitochondria. All this other stuff is all propped up by AdSense. Okay. Like AdSense is bringing them in, at least several hundred billion a year. Okay. Because remember, Google is very close to being $1 trillion company. All right. So when we look at that, if you're making that type of cash, what can you do to not have Uncle Sam, again, turn the void beast upon you of, I'm hungry, I'm the government. And there's not, it's like, oh, shoot, we're upholding half of the knowledge of human civilization on our side gig called YouTube. And he's like, oh, how much do you lose each year? We lose $5 billion a year. Oh, all right, you're good. You're upholding, half of human civilization's knowledge on YouTube. Okay. And if they really wanted to get froggy, all they had to do is buy out Wikipedia. I mean, it could happen. I mean, yeah, it would be very scary then, but they could buy out Wikipedia and then say, like, look, definitely we hold, like, at that stage, Google will hold human history hostage. I know everybody is like, we hate books. Books suck. I'm like, I mean, there's a reason why 1984 had book burning. There's a reason for it. It's that you cannot remanufacture and constantly remanufacture the past in your image when there is a written documentation of it. You just can't. And we see that today. You see a article go up by certain websites, and then they're edited, they're stealth edited, no one knows. You come back to it, and you be like, I thought this was there, and it's like, it's not there anymore. And they won't put up that it's edited, because then they look bad, or they'll take down stuff. And then you have this series of references. It's just like, oh, where'd it go? Oh my gosh, I don't know. Where'd it go? I can't validate any of these sources. If I can't validate any of these sources, is it true? Did they act right? So then you're in speculation. So, but for the heroclix community, I know some folks be like, Dark Logo story time went way too long. I'm like, yeah. I would just recommend that we just rally the horses around Facebook for now. The other platforms, like there's Library, there's BitChute, there's a few others. We could go and put some content there. Is the game going to grow from that? No, not really. I think having some, for the time being, temporary asylum places where it's like, hey, we have more in-depth videos off YouTube. Like, this is where to go. I think that might be the future of video, where YouTube is for publicity and content is off YouTube. you get everybody off YouTube, which YouTube does not want. But I think that's going to be mandatory, because as long as the government is looking at YouTube and YouTube is adversarial to its content creators that are not corporate, and yeah, as long as they're adversarial to their non-corporate content creators, like they have been, it's just, it's a war almost not worth fighting. Definitely, if you're looking at it from a perspective of being paid, the people that I feel most sorry for in this situation is Married with Clicks and Happy Little heroclix, because I can just see how much money they're going to be losing from this. And you're already not getting that much money as it is, and you're about to make 10% of what you make now. So if you're making $100 a month, you're going to go down to making $10 a month. Is that content going to continue? And the answer is no. If, you know, I mean, Devin, I could probably see still doing it, because he's sort of doing it for the lulls anyway from the beginning. I mean, the fun lulls, not the dark lulls. And with Jason, I see him as a pillar of the community, so he'll keep going as a pillar of the community. But realistically, I mean, you're not seeing WizKids do crap, like in terms of boosting anyone. So I don't know. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. And I know, yo, Kenny's probably going to listen to this like, yo, man, we're trying not to play favorites. We did that in the past and we messed up. I'm like, yeah, because y'all went on to Push the Regen and you didn't go anywhere else because Push the Regen softball questions. Now, Kenny has been on 2 Clicks a lot before he was official. And he's also been on Married with Clicks after he was official. So I'm not going to say, I'll leave it at that. I'll just leave it alone. So anyway, like the future of this show, I mean, between life and freaking YouTube trying to bury creators, I don't know how much longer the show has. Am I trying to, ride out to the sunset and, throw my hat up and tell you that the hero wears black or something like that? Not really. I also don't want to be taken out like old Yeller to the back, and the American Spetsnaz has the gun, says you done speak the thought crime, sir. It's like slavery is freedom. Repeat it with me now. Slavery is freedom. Say it with me now. I love Big Brother. Because I haven't been the most PC of shows. Okay, and the funny thing is, I just learned that political correctness is a concept invented by Mao. Never knew that. But anyway, I don't see where the clear path of safety is. The FTC can bomb any place. They can go in, and you go over to BitChute, they'll go there. Like, all it takes is some pissed off SJW at the New York Times to say the alt-right trolls over there mind controlling your kids on independent video sites. The government should do something about it. And be like, oh gosh. So are we all state sponsored now? To exist, do we have to be state sponsored now? Do we have to toe the party line? So anyway, I wanted to talk about some of the good times with the show. And the best thing I can say is this. This show has presented me opportunity to talk with people globally. People that I normally would have no chance in my existence to talk to. to be a moment of encouragement in their life, a moment of entertainment in their life, a moment of reflection in their life. And that's something to be happy and grateful about. I've been doing this almost 10 years. Yeah, almost 10 years I've been doing this. And doing heroclix content. And I've seen the community get better. I'm glad that I used to be the only guy. Now I'm just one of the guys. And that feels good. A lot of people will say, hey, aren't monopolies the best? And it's like, no, not when you're trying to make a cultural change. I like the fact that there are more experienced people than me out there that have shows. I'm glad that there's more opinionated people than me out there that have tactical shows. I'm glad that there are people out there with more production value than me. And because of that, I can sit back there and say, hey, am I generation one? And, no, that's ClicksCast. But I can clearly say, like, I'm Gen 2, homie. And we could say now we're on like Gen 7 to Gen 9. And I can look back and say, I may not have been your progenitor, directly. Or let me rephrase that. I may not have been the alpha point, but I've helped to be a progenitor to a lot of different shows. And I help talk with a lot of different shows and help encourage a lot of different shows. And in response, they've helped me in multiple ways to go out there and be more of an ambassador to the community, to help promote the community and what the community's thoughts and desires are from a competitive perspective. I like the fact that I've in the push to become a better version of myself and to become a better player, that I have gone to places that I never would have gone before and challenge people that I never thought I could challenge. Sometimes win, sometimes lose. But be able to come back and say, I am there or a half step behind. I am not this person that is miles behind or completely incapable. And through the miles and mountains walked, I can say I can face another master. Will I always win? No. But I can fight one, and they will bleed. And that's a statement that a lot of people can't say. I can play some of the best in the game. I can make them work. I'm not guaranteed to win, but I can make them work. I can get to near the top of the mountain. I will not be considered one of the best of the game, at least not now, in terms of individual strength. But I think it's undoubted, unquestioned, that I am the best organizer and the best team leader. I think it's unquestioned. When you look at players setting up players, creating situations for those players to thrive, creating environments for that, allowing for the discourse to happen, to know what a player needs in that formula. I can say I've learned a lot doing, organizing Phoenix Nest and leading Phoenix Nest. And I can say I've known how to utilize my skills and bring on other people to amplify those skills or cover those things that I lack to provide a championship mindset, a championship encouragement, a upgrade. The better way of putting it is to make sure there's not just one person running for that first place trophy, that you have a whole squad running for that first place trophy, and we all celebrate and encourage each other as we run. And I haven't seen that on every team. There are some teams that are great at it, but I haven't seen that on every team. So, when all's said and done, will I have an impact on this game? Yes, I think I have had an impact on this game and probably continue to have an impact on this game for a while. And I'm thankful for it. And I'm thankful for all the adversaries along the way. Because adversaries make you upgrade. Adversaries make you stronger. And so, I guess that's my point of wisdom. There's many times that I've wanted to quit. There's many times I've wanted to walk away. There's many times that I thought that I would never be good enough. There'd be many times that I said I would never have anything past the second place. There's many times that I have mocked myself at night in the recesses of my mind to sort of come to, like Pilgrim did in the Dungeon of Despair, and say, I have this thing called hope. And after all this time, I've seen a multitude of plans come to fruition. Some people that are with me are sort of like that, and like some anime, it's like, I fought you in episode 3, and now in season 5, we're on the same team. Some other folks, it's like, you were here through season 2, and then you're gone. So that's how life goes. So if I do another 300 episodes, that would be great. If not, so be it. But it's been fun thus far. And that's what matters. It's been fun thus far. And, who knows? Maybe when they look back, they'll say, Dark Logos, the greatest commentary. No, let me rephrase this. Dark Logos, the greatest commentator and entertainer of heroclix. He was the Phil Jackson of heroclix. Maybe they'll say that. I don't know. But that's a time beyond me. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for listening to today's show. I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it up and say, hey, we all have to start over